Big win for the Chargers on Thursday Night Football to kick off Week 8. Quarterback problems for the Vikings. Bengals trades are being requested, and a whole lot more we're making picks for Week 8 on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Appreciate you hanging out with us every day as we get ready for Week 8 now of the NFL season. If you're new to the program, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Mazda. Like the players on the field, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. So stay tuned later for some highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. No doubt some highlights for the Los Angeles Chargers, who really had an easy win on Thursday night to start the week. What they talked about on the broadcast, what a nice weekend it is for a team to have a Thursday nighter. You're at home already on Thursday night. You have a 37-10 win, and now you get a little a mini bye, as they call it, and you get a nice little weekend watching other teams play football before you get healthy and get back to it. In Week 9 of the season, the Chargers at 5-3 now in a pretty good spot, despite some of the injuries they've had to deal with. Getting Joel back in this game is huge at left tackle. A lot of problems for the Vikings that I want to get into, but Kamani Vidal, another 100-yard rushing performance on the ground. They really leaned on him. He is their number one guy with Omarion Hampton out, 23 carries, 117 yards. He had the score. McConkey with the big catch. 3 touchdown passes from Justin Herbert in this game. Efficient offensively, where the Chargers had some big plays against that. And, you know, of all the problems with the Vikings right now, and we're going to talk quarterback and Wentz and the injuries there, Brian Flores, the last couple of weeks, has had a lot of receivers running free on the back end of his game.
So I think there's a lot to take away from this game. And I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, big picture thinking, but I'm going to anyway. Great win by the Chargers, as you mentioned, and you just stay at home and relax for 10 days and maybe watch football on Sunday like you and I do. You know, I mean, how fun was that? And I think their running game is the story here, and Vidal in particular, that maybe they found something there along with Gadsden. Like, you get these mid-late round picks, undrafted guys that turn into playmakers for you. That's gold, man. And Herbert's going to elevate all of them. I think Herbert's playing at an extremely high level, but the running game really ruled the day. They did lose Derwin James, something to keep an eye on, but I thought the defense was fine. And the Chargers are in a pretty good place. But I was even going into this game more interested in the loser. Even though they aren't a conference game, mathematically it doesn't kill you to lose this game. But I thought whoever lost this game really could be looking at the playoffs from the outside in. You know, just the way their each respective conference is going. And with Minnesota losing as badly as they did, I really feel strongly about that now, and not in a positive way for the Vikings at all. I mean, their pass protection and offensive line play, they've had a lot of injuries this year, but is really, really poor. The more Wentz plays, the more he gets exposed, and he does dumb things and holds the ball. And he makes a play here and there, but it's pretty clear his teammates could do without him too. They don't really care all that much about him, and he does his own thing. And that's why he's been with a million teams. He has that reputation.
Wentz has done this multiple times. He looked best at the beginning and only gets worse for whatever time he plays for.
And now we're 10 years in. That's what he is, right? Even as a backup. I'm glad you mentioned Flores. Exposed might be a strong word, but is the league starting to figure out his shenanigans a little bit? Because I never thought the Vikings had great defensive players. I don't think it's bad, but it's more scheme driven than, he's got Myles Garrett and Parsons. They don't have stars all over the place. And I wonder if the league's starting to get a bead on what he's doing. and doesn't have the talent to overcome that if the scheme is getting figured out a little bit. And I think the Vikes are in a really bad spot, I mean, you power rank the NFC right now. They're really low, and I think there's a very good chance they go an entire season with poor quarterback play, which brings me to the next thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing when we talk about, okay, why do you not draft running backs high? Why do you not spend a lot on running backs? Because it's like, well, if you have a mediocre running back, he's going to be fine behind a decent offensive line. You can have all the running backs in the world you want. If your offensive line is looking like the Vikings had out there on Thursday night and seeing another one of your guys leaves the game, it's not going to be a good situation, no matter if you do get one of your injured running backs back. And I think they have a couple of, good, decent backs in Minnesota, but it doesn't matter. And then you get your quarterback hit and your quarterback's banged up and hurt. And how do you keep running Wentz out there? Why
did they put Brosmore in at the half at least? I mean, he couldn't even throw, and he's
hurt and
not
probably
good,
shouldn't be playing. And so was this a game where you don't even, it looked like they don't want to win. It looked like
in a way, yeah.
Where it's like, well, we don't care. We're not going to do anything different. They were like, we didn't want our other young quarterbacks to get hit because we're like, this is just a sacrificial game. Wentz, good luck. I don't care if you're hurt. You're going to keep getting beat up. We're going to lose this game. We're going to just, do some crazy stuff on defense to try to, create some big plays. But if we get beat, we get beat. And that's the way it feels it's going with the Minnesota Vikings right now. Big questions that I didn't have about them coaching wise that I'm starting to see with this team.
Agreed.
In week 8 that I didn't expect to be there. I would have said this is one of the more well-coached teams in the NFL. They're not looking like it right now.
No, they're not. And it brings me to the big picture stuff. McCarthy has now missed 22 out of a possible 24 NFL games. And it sure sounds like he's going to be back after the long week. Fine. Okay, let's see what you have to see what you have in this guy the rest of the year. So, as everyone knows, the Steelers will probably be in the quarterback market this offseason. So, earlier this week, my co-host and I on our Steelers show, we went team by team. Are these teams going to need a quarterback? Or could they compete with the Steelers to get a quarterback? Raiders, yes. Bills, no. We just made a list of yes or no's. And the Vikings was the hardest one. Could they be in the quarterback market? I think there's a realistic world where they could be. Should they consider making an offer for Kirk Cousins today? Or I don't know about Russell Wilson or Winston, but I mean, just cut Wentz and get a backup plan to some degree for the rest of the year / next year. I don't know what to do with their quarterback spot.
I didn't think about the Cousins connection. And we had talked earlier this week about they took too long to move away from Cousins.
Yeah.
Need him right back right now would be the best thing for them.
I mean, they would have been a lot more competitive last night with Cousins. No. That's for sure.
That's tough.
And now McCarthy's healthy. He's got to start next game.
From the standpoint of if the Vikings are in the quarterback market, then you don't want JJ McCarthy. Like if you're like trying to be like, okay, well, who could we get from them? Right. The place where all quarterbacks have done great and they're ready to move off of JJ McCarthy next offseason, you don't want any part of that.
Are they much different than the Colts? Like, I don't think the coaching staff forgot how to coach in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And is Richardson and McCarthy the same guy? I mean, not a carbon copy, but I mean, like, career path as we're looking at it. If McCarthy flounders this next month when he comes back, give me the Daniel Jones, who coincidentally was in Minnesota last year, retread guy.
Similarly, but we haven't even had the glimpse. We at least got glimpse of bad Anthony Richardson play. We've got so very little to go on with what JJ McCarthy even is.
Right. I mean, it wasn't good, but it was so small.
Mm-hmm. But he had that first game. It was like not good, but then he went crazy in the fourth quarter. Right. Remember that? It was like, okay, yeah, maybe slow starter, hot finisher. We're seeing that with Bo Nix right now, and what's going on with Sean Payton's offense. So you got to give a little bit of leeway to the young quarterback in JJ McCarthy, who's still one of the younger guys in the NFL at the position. So. Yeah,
but we have this conversation in a month. We might be like, "Oh, they're in big trouble."
They're in big trouble, or okay, yeah, well, there's enough there, and
I mean, we'll find more out. But
not a good season this year, but on track for next year. Get healthier and go at it.
I think they're in big trouble for this year, though.
I got a question for you from one of our listeners about Justin Herbert. If Herbert's one of those fascinating kind of hot button quarterbacks when it comes to like ranking quarterbacks. Like the new is he elite guy in the NFL. And then I want to talk Bengals. One of their big name players has requested a trade and more from week 8. We're previewing and making picks for the rest of the games that we've not hit in yesterday's 6-pack of picks. Coming up next. Today's episode of Peacock Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss right now for new customers, because if you are a new customer at FanDuel, all you have to do is bet. First of all, you got to sign up. Then you bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. Bonus dollars to use on weekly lines that you can find not only for week 8, but all the way through the end of the NFL season. College football lines, World Series lines. How about NBA getting going? And I know folks love to get involved with the NBA season, NHL as well. Tons of player props. Build your own parlays. Follow in-game live lines, in-game betting, and so much more. Makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action on your Saturdays and Sundays. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That is FanDuel.com. This episode of P&W is also brought to you by Rippling. And I know a lot of businesses go through this, and I've been involved with some businesses that go through this very same thing. And if you are a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier. Not always the case. But now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. So that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform, global HR, payroll, IT, finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Unite your employees, teams, and departments in one system. Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. So whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at Rippling, rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. So one of our listeners, Matt, asked the question of you specifically. Actually, in fact, I think the way it was worded was, "Hey, Peacock, does Williamson still rank?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We got to go to the field. Does Williamson still rank Justin Herbert in the same tier with Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud?" And it's fun to watch these quarterbacks' careers. And I always say that quarterback development is not linear, and there's always so much else going on. And you can see that right now with the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers from Thursday night, and developing quarterbacks and how things go. Trevor Lawrence has been a big one that we've talked about a lot. And how do you rank him? Is he even good? Justin Herbert is clearly good. And we've both been on that side of the line. It's like Justin Herbert is good. CJ Stroud started hot. His career has gone on a weird trajectory, and I've done a lot of work on the Houston Texans this week. They were part of our 6-pack. Battle line again. Questionable offensive coordinator. They've got the defense figured out. This offense thing. And CJ Stroud has to take some blame in this as well, kind of taking too many sacks and holding on to the ball too long. And you start to see a lot of the things that happen a lot with quarterbacks that start having some problems in the NFL. Jaden Daniels not having the greatest season after he started hot in his rookie year, just like CJ Stroud. He's hurt again. We'll talk about Mariota versus the Chiefs on Monday Night Football a little bit later in this episode. So where you at? Just, those 3 quarterbacks were the ones that were asked about. Do you still have those guys in that same tier after the elite guys?
No. I still think there's 4 superstars, and there's no reason to not keep Burrow in there. We just haven't seen them, and we know who those guys are. And I think when pressed, and if I was asked to pick who my number 5 was, not just who's in the tier, I think I settled on Herbert. Now I'm firm on Herbert. Now, does he belong? Is he the best tier 2 guy or is he the worst tier 1 guy? I don't really care, but he's 5th, right. And Stroud is not in that tier anymore. I don't know what to do with Daniels, to be honest with you. I mean, I can't really blame him for much thus far.
I think it's Stafford, Herbert probably at 5. Going forward, clearly you would want Herbert. Stafford's still playing at a really high level.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool to see Stafford last week without Puka Nacua and how they spread the ball around. And now, hopefully get Puka back after the Rams bye. By the way, 6 teams on a bye this week, so we don't have a lot of games to get to, so we can kind of dive into some of these other topics. One more of those other topics I want to get to here, Matt, as we start to preview games. We'll talk Jets and Bengals. Look, if the Bengals lose the Jets, you're open for business. You got to be, right? Because a lot of people have asked us about the Bengals and why don't the Bengals ever trade and some of these things? We'll see. I'm skeptical the Bengals swing any deals, but now one of their formerly star players, he's a big name player, linebacker Logan Wilson, has requested a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's not Trey Hendrickson, and clearly there are some other players who are not super happy with what's going on in Cleveland and haven't been for a long time. And they've had some of those players throughout the years of the history of their franchise that don't really love the way things go on in Cincinnati. But right now you've got a current player in the middle of the season with a week to go, a little over a week to go for the trade deadline. Bengals linebacker, according to Schefter and somebody else at ESPN, Logan Wilson has officially requested a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, and as you are with the Texans, I just did a ton of work on the Bengals because that was the Steelers' last opponent, that standalone game. And I really thought going into that game that if they lost to Pittsburgh and then you got those 10 days before this Jets game, it's sell time. Hendrickson probably wouldn't be there for the Jets game and whoever else people want. And studying the Bengals, I don't know exactly why they did it, but in a way, they did make a youth movement. They're playing their rookie guards. They took 2 guards. They took 2 linebackers in the draft. And the 2 linebackers are now starters, with Wilson being pushed to the bench. And frankly, they're really bad. But at least they're learning. And I think they're trying to toe this line of, can Flacco keep us competitive? But we realize it's still a long shot, so let's play young guys. And Wilson isn't in our plan. So I think he could go any minute now, either way, win or lose. But it does complicate the Hendrickson move. If, you beat the Steelers, you probably beat the Jets. I mean, they're favored. And I'm going to pick them to win. I don't know if I'll pick them to cover. But then all of a sudden, it's like, can we stay afloat before Joe gets back? And even if Joe gets back, does that make you competitive? I think I would sell the ship, but that's just me.
Yeah, I would have sold, and I probably wouldn't have been buying with Flacco. But they, I do think that it's easy to sit here and say that when you're in the building, you've got to do right for your franchise and your players, and you can't just be like, "Sorry, guys, the season's done."
You got to look Jamar Chase in the face every day and be like, we're trying to win at least.
And obviously, they've won some games with Flacco, and he's looked good, or they've won a game with Flacco.
Yeah.
He looked good against the Steelers, at least. So playing out the string makes them kind of stay on the fence. Could they sell and buy? Because they've already bought. Could they still sell? Could they trade? Because clearly the youth movement, and they're going with Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter at linebacker. Could you trade Logan Wilson but then not trade
Hendrickson's the big one. I think Wilson could go. 2 weeks ago, they would have got rid of Wilson.
Right. Yeah. And I wonder, and here's the thing is they just aren't good at making deals too. So they're probably like, oh, Logan Wilson, you're still going to have to give us a lot. And teams are, you can have a 7th round pick in 9 years, and those,
right.
You were like, man, they got nothing for this guy. And so it might be just one of those, but yeah, interesting. If you lose to the Jets, sell, because the Jets are the worst team in the league. And if you start looking at this game, clearly picking the Bengals, they're at home against the worst team in the NFL. The 0-7 Jets are at the 3-4 Bengals. Bengals could get to 500 if they win this football game. 500 teams don't usually, sell the farm or anything. Bengals favored by 6.5 points against the Jets. I'm giving up those points. I'm taking the Flacco-led Bengals. And the Jets not only are bad, but now they don't have Garrett Wilson, who's officially out for this game. They're going to play Tyrod Taylor, but he's kind of limited in practice and somehow banged up.
I think Sauce is
banged
out
up,
too.
but I think he's going to play. There's not in a good spot at all, anywhere, in any shape or form. And they might, speaking of teams that are trading, I think you can go get one of those say, defensive ends from the Jets over the course of the night.
So 6.5, is that what we're looking at here?
Bengals favored by 6.5 points at home.
I still think the Bengals defense is horrendous, but without Wilson, I just don't see any receivers of note here at all for the Jets. And if Taylor's not 100%, then I at least thought Sauce could maybe man up with Higgins, because the Jets D's actually played a little better. I think this passing attack is enough to cover 6.5.
Yeah. Jets are in really, 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 really bad shape.
Yeah, they really are.
Next, we've got Browns Patriots. We have a Monday nighter with Jayden Daniels out against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's always going to be tough to go to KC on a Monday night, and an NFC South matchup with the Bucs and Saints. We got the Cowboys trying to get over 500 at the Denver Broncos. We're making picks, previewing the rest of Week 8 next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Mazda. Mazda always moving the game forward. And for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. These moments, and there are tons of moments that do more than put points on the board for NFL teams. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward, I want to highlight a big touchdown throw and catch from Justin Herbert in the Chargers win against those Minnesota Vikings. We talked a lot about that game. Ladd McConkey with the catch and run, and it was really just a big moment in a game that really slammed the door on any hopes for the Minnesota Vikings. They ran the ball well, they threw the ball well, and clearly Jim Harbaugh's Chargers are moving the game forward right now, and as does Mazda. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right. We're going to move on to the red hot. Can I call them red hot? New England Patriots? They're
pretty hot.
They're 5-2 at home. They're in first place. In the
Speaking of hot, I just got a text BP from our buddy Ross Jackson. There's some news brewing about the podcast. So just want to, I'm not going to tell anybody any secrets, but just keep your ears open this weekend and early next week. So just, little nugget one to throw out there. Maybe check your phone while we're recording this BP. There's a little something going to happen coming up here soon. So
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Crack open a cold one and stay tuned. And there might be some changes up front here with Peacock and Williamson. Peacock and Williamson aren't going anywhere, but might be
for the better guys. Yeah.
Having some fun here on the pod. The New England Patriots 5-2. They're hosting the 2-5 Cleveland Browns. Can Drake May keep it going? 12 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. The efficiency and the big plays from Drake May's arm for that Patriots offense this season.
Yeah, I went to the EPA site and just haven't looked at the quarterbacks in a while. He's number one. I mean, EPA plus, expected completion percentage, he's number one. And it adds up. I mean, I don't know that he can win an MVP, considering the state of the team, but he's in that hunt in a way. I think this line's too big, though. I still have a lot of respect for the Browns defense, and I think Judkins can keep the offense on track. I think Cleveland keeps this thing close.
7.5 points feels like a little much for the New England Patriots. The upstart Pats to be favored against anybody. I know the Browns aren't a good football team, but as you mentioned, they can still play pretty strong on one side of the ball. And the Patriots, though, are a team that has put up some points on the offensive side of the ball. They've beaten some teams by a lot of points. They've had some close games as well. But when you look at, their scores against the Titans, 31-13 against the Saints, that was a 6-point game. You look at how they beat obviously the Bills was a close football game, but they beat up on the Panthers 42-13. Like, they can do that too against a bad team. So I don't love it. It is too many points for me. 7.5. You get more than a touchdown. I think the smart money is on the points here, but I won't be shocked at all if we're sitting here on Monday morning and the Patriots did do a number on the Cleveland Browns, because I don't have any confidence in where the Cleveland Browns are right now. Even the defense occasionally is just like, what are these guys doing? They found a ground game with Judkins, though. That's clear. 5 touchdowns already, and this guy didn't do anything in camp.
So I think it was the DVOA folks that they put out. The Patriots have played the easiest schedule to date per DVOA or whatever. More notably, they play the easiest schedule the rest of the way. Miami twice, the Jets twice, I mean, they could be my favorite team to bet against in the first round of the AFC playoffs.
Easy. The Bills twice. They already beat them once. That's no problem.
They already beat them once. They're in great shape. Yeah, they're in great shape.
We already talked Bills and Panthers from the six-pack on yesterday's episode. Let's go to the Chicago Bears at the Baltimore Ravens. Do we have an update on Lamar? Because we didn't put them in our six-pack because we weren't sure about
Vegas
Lamar.
Thinks he's playing.
And, yeah, it does look like that with this line with the Baltimore, who won one entire football game this whole season. The Bears have won 4 straight. I believe they started 0-2, right? So the 4-2 Bears are at the 1-5 Ravens. Ravens are favored by 6.5.
I don't know what to make of the Ravens, but I fully expect them to be much better post-bye. But I don't know where the pass rush comes from, and I don't know where the run stopping comes from. I love the Bears with the points here. I don't know if they win, but I think that they easily could, and they're playing better than the version we saw last by 1,000. I just don't think that's the version we're going to see. They take the
Bears
ball away
a little bit. We're starting to see that two-headed Kyle Monangai getting involved, that two-headed running game, reminiscent of Ben Johnson's offense with the Detroit Lions. Not quite the juice of a Jahmyr Gibbs back there, but you're starting to see it come together. You're starting to see the vision a little bit. They're playing some good football, both sides of the ball, and the Ravens just haven't. So I'm not going to buy the Ravens until I actually see it from them. And it's the defense that I'm really worried about more than anything. Yeah. And even with Lamar, it wasn't good. And so 6.5, that seems weird. I'm taking the points and I'm taking the Bears based on what I've seen from the Ravens. They could be better post-bye, but where's the pass rush going to come from? And something's going on with the coaching of this football team and how guys are deployed, because they trade away Odafe Owe, who has 0 sacks in 5 games. And he got another sack last night. He got a sack on his second play as a Charger, got another one last night.
I was about to say the same thing. Couldn't the Ravens use that?
That's exactly what the Ravens needed.
Yeah.
So, we're all right. So we're seeing things eye to eye here on this Friday edition of Peacock and Williamson. Moving along to the Buccaneers at the Saints, the 5-2 Bucs. No Mike Evans, but you got Tez Johnson filling in really nicely. And I think a lot of it's on Baker Mayfield and the offense. How about the job that the Buccaneers have done? And you've got to commend, they've lost their last 2 offensive coordinators. They had Tom Brady at one point in time, lost him, and they just keep going. Todd Bowles has to be in consideration for Coach of the Year, I think, with Steichen and Shanahan right now. If you're doing a top 3 through 7-8 weeks of the season, the Buccaneers at the lowly 1-6 division rivals Saints. Tampa on the road favored by only 4.5. Doesn't seem like a lot against a bad football team that seems to be getting worse.
I initially thought that too. I'm like, that doesn't seem like a lot of points. One team is several tiers above the other. But I also think there's a lot of injuries right now in Tampa. Coming off a short week, right? They were the Monday nighter, and then on the road, division home dog.
Yeah.
Saints play hard. They're lacking talent, but I'm taking the points at home. I think they keep this thing within a field goal.
I am taking the Bucs just because there's not enough to believe in for the Saints right now, even at home. If it was a big line, yes, but 4.5, I think that's absolutely doable by the Buccaneers on the road. Dallas Cowboys trying to get over 500. They're 3-3-1. There's rumors that they're trying to go make they're fishing for a whale, potentially Max Crosby type of player to add to that defense. We know exactly who the Dallas Cowboys are. I'm not exactly sure who the Denver Broncos are, the way they've played this year. But at 5-2, they did get by the Giants in just a wild one last week. Scored all of their 33 points in the fourth quarter to win 33-32. They're favored by 3.5 points at home against the Cowboys.
I'm taking the points. And I just still don't trust Denver's offense. And boy, do I trust Dak Prescott in that offense right now. And I would think Surtain goes on Pickens, and Pickens still probably gets his, but the Cowboys run on everybody. Lamb could blow up. I definitely want the points, and I might even take the money line whenever Monday or Sunday morning rolls around.
This game is perfect because it is Javonte Williams against J.K. Dobbins. And every time I watch either one of those two teams, and every time one of those running backs who have both played very well this year gets tackled, I'm like, oh, are they going to get up? Because the injuries they have those guys, and they're both playing so good once again, and they've stayed healthy through half the season. I hope it continues. Really cool to see Javonte Williams and because we talk about Dak in the passing game. I mean, almost 600 yards already for Javonte Williams right now on the ground, and 6 touchdowns. Another 600 yards through the air and 6 touchdowns for George Pickens. And of course, you got CeeDee Lamb back last week. So even if you take one of those guys away and you say shuts them down, you can still operate on offense. Now, the Broncos should be able to maybe get that first half offense going a little bit better against the Cowboys defense this week. But, potentially a lot of points. The over-under is 50.5 for a reason. I think this is one of those games that it's close enough that I do. And we've seen the Cowboys do that. The Cowboys are the team that had an overtime 40-40 tie this year, right? So they can stay close with teams. Can they? And
Denver for that insane fourth quarter against the Giants. Right? This could be a wild one.
Yeah. So that tells me take the points here in Denver. Titans and Colts on the nothing more lopsided as far as win-loss records go. You got the 1-6 Titans, and they're on the road at the 6-1 Indianapolis Colts. 14.5 points. So talk to me about division rivals and points.
I know.
Yeah.
I hate this line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to say, give me the Colts to win. Like on Locked On with Wig, we don't pick anything against the line. We just kind of joked and went, the Colts, move on.
Yeah.
Don't even talk about it. Blowout. But it's 14.5. I think I take the points in a division game very reluctantly.
I'm just going to go the other way and give up the points. Just for
this is one, to be honest with you, if you picked first, I would just take the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Let's change it up. The Colts have been pretty good at keeping the gas on the pedal and putting up points when they need to as well. And I think there's a little edge to Steichen and Jones, which I appreciate and I like, because everyone was killing them. And they're like, okay, how about 40 points? How about that?
Yeah.
What does that do for you, right? And so they've got that vibe right now, and I could use it with Tyler Warren in my fantasy leagues too. So
yeah, you're gonna be happy with him though.
Yeah. Moving on to the Monday nighter, it is the Washington Commanders without Jaden Daniels going against the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are as hot as anybody in the league right now after a slow start. They're 4-3. They're at home. They're favored by 11.5 over the Marcus Mariota-led Commanders. And I do want to say Mariota has impressed me because I left him for dead. I thought that he was just a straight up bad quarterback, and he's had a little bit of a resurgence here as a decent backup quarterback that could come in and still win you some games.
Yeah, he has a place in the league, and I think he's in the perfect spot as a number 2 behind a similar stylistic quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had a better grasp of any of their weapons coming back. I thought they were, Debo and McLaurin. They seem so short on pass catchers. I think the defense looks old and sluggish. Kansas City's on a roll, but this is a big number. I'm going to bank on Kansas City just slaughtering them at home.
Yeah, I'm with you. They looked like a different offense a little bit with getting Rashee Rice back, and it just felt like everything kind of went into place there. And even Kelsey felt like things were right there with that Kansas City Chiefs offense. And I think the Commanders defense can be had in a lot of ways. And I said some nice things about Mariota, but I still don't really believe in him on the road, hostile environment against the Kansas City Chiefs. But I do believe in Spagnuolo's ability to stop the Commanders. So, a lot of this season, we've been like, you know what, it's really smart to take the points. And then last week I took a lot of teams with the points. And you know what happened? There was a bunch of blowouts from the teams that are not as good as them. And so that is a lot of points. And I think, again, I'm gonna be dumb because being smart hasn't helped me out this year. Maybe it's the vice versa. But give me the Chiefs. I'm giving up the points once again.
Me too.
There we go. That is week 8. The games that we did not talk about today, we got on the 6-pack yesterday. There's 6 bye teams as well. No Jags, no Seahawks, no Cards, no Rams, no Raiders, and no Lions playing in week 8. But the games that are out there, all 13 of them, 12 of them now, because we already talked about the Thursday nighter, we will cover on on Monday's edition of Peacock and Williamson. So we will talk to you then, and have a great weekend.